7. Rare shadow signals that prove you're truly a dark chosen one. There are people on this planet who didn't just come to spread light, they came to rewire reality, not through softness, not through mass approval spirituality, but through intensity, through rupture, through presence that shatters illusion on sight. These are the dark chosen ones. And if you're here, if you've always felt like your energy was too much, if your life has been defined by a kind of spiritual warfare no one else seems to understand, if you've been called to go where others refuse to tread, it's because you are one of them. But how do you know? How do you know you're not just going through hardship or growing through trauma, but actually embodying a soul code that's so ancient, so disruptive, so cosmic in purpose, that your entire existence serves as a living recalibration of the system? There are signs. Not obvious ones, not the typical "you feel different" or "you're highly empathic" type of language that circulates in every spiritual circle. No, these signals are rare, they are deep, they are encoded into the undercurrent of your life. They don't ask for attention, they reveal themselves in silence. These are the signals that confirm you're not just working in the light, you're anchoring in the shadow. You're not just here to ascend, you are here to descend with precision, scan the field and reprogram it.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
The first sign is that you destabilize things without trying. You walk into a room and unspoken truths rise to the surface. People suddenly get triggered. Long-buried emotions start bubbling. Group dynamics shift. You haven't even said a word yet, but the energy is already rearranging itself. Your presence disturbs denial. It breaks the code of pretense. You don't harmonize with lies, and your very existence makes others feel their fraction. You aren't doing anything on purpose, it's the nature of your frequency. And the reason this happens is because you carry a shadow code that forces recalibration. Where light raises vibration, shadow resets it. The second signal is that people often villainize you or romanticize you, rarely anything in between. You're either someone's mirror or their muse, their healer or their heretic. Your energy pulls people into extremes because your field is not neutral. It's coded to provoke. You don't just reflect people's potential, you reflect their repression, their unspoken dreams, their suppressed rage, their secret shadows. That's why you've been accused of things you didn't do. That's why people love you, obsess over you, and then suddenly vanish. They aren't reacting to you, they're reacting to what you activate in them. You trigger energy to rise, and their nervous system doesn't know how to process it. This signal is one of the clearest indicators that you're not here for surface-level influence. You're here to rip the veil. The third sign is that you've had to endure deep initiations of loneliness. Not the cute, I need alone time kind, but the kind that takes you to the edge of existence. You've gone through seasons where no one could meet you where you were, where you felt like you were carrying too much, like the world couldn't hold what you knew, what you felt, what you saw. This is because dark chosen ones are initiated through emptiness. You are not filled by being around others, you are forged by surviving without them. Your solitude isn't just space, it's spiritual metallurgy. It's where your field sharpens into something unshakable. You don't get your power from connection, you get it from clarity. The fourth signal is your relationship with chaos. You don't fear it, You recognize it. You've lived in it long enough to understand that chaos isn't disorder, it's unprocessed truth in motion. You are the one who can hold center when everything else is falling apart. Not because you're cold or detached, but because your system was built to operate in energetic storms. While others shut down, you turn on. You don't just survive breakdowns, you become the axis in the middle of the collapse. That's why people instinctively look to you in moments of crisis. That's why you've been forced to lead even when you didn't want to, because your field knows how to stabilize chaos without diluting it. That's a rare gift. That's a mark of shadow power. The fifth rare sign is the way you move through layers of time and perception. You can sense when a conversation is about more than just what's being said. You see the pattern behind the problem, the trauma behind the personality, the truth behind the mask. But more than that, you can sense the timeline playing out. You know when something isn't just wrong, it's unfinished business. You have moments where you see the future before it arrives, or you feel the past collapse into the present. You don't just read energy, you walk between its threads. It's not always fun, it makes grounding difficult, but it also makes you incredibly potent, because your choices don't just affect now, they affect what was and what's coming. The sixth sign is that your awakening wasn't blissful, it was brutal. It didn't arrive gently with angelic music and love. It came like a storm, like a dismantling, like everything you thought you were being burned in a sacred fire you didn't ask for. This is how shadow-anchored souls awaken, not through light, but through collapse, through the confrontation of everything that isn't real, through the tearing down of identities, stories, lineages, time. And when the fire recedes, something else is left. Not peace, but presence. Not happiness, but awareness. Not safety, but power. Real, unshakable, earned. And the seventh rare sign that proves you're a dark chosen one is that you don't seek escape. You seek depth. You're not running from the dark. You're drawn to it. Not because you want to suffer, but because you know there's treasure in it. Where others avoid discomfort, you move toward it. Where others bypass shadow, you listen to it. You dive into the places people avoid. You've faced your own demons and made them your counsel. You've walked through inner hell and found your truth waiting in the flame. You know that shadow isn't the opposite of light, it's the origin of it. And when you carry that knowing, the world responds differently. It doesn't always understand you, but it feels you. So now we ask you something no one else will. If these signs have been following you your entire life, what would it mean to finally stop denying what they've been trying to show you? What would it mean to stop trying to be light and start mastering the shadow you've already embodied? From shadow signal to shadow power, unlocking the hidden technology of your energy field. There is a moment when you stop questioning whether you're different and you start exploring why. You stop wondering why you feel so much, why your presence changes things, why chaos seems to orbit your steps, and you begin to understand that it's not random. It's not trauma, it's not dysfunction, it's design. You weren't made to merely navigate this world, you were made to rewrite the frequency it runs on. That's the truth behind the signals. They weren't just signs, they were activation codes. And when you stop resisting them and start aligning with them, those signals evolve into power. You have a unique field, Not in the poetic sense, in the literal energetic sense. Your field is alive. It speaks, it scans, it processes data far beyond what the human eye can see or the human brain can interpret. Your nervous system, your emotional body, your psychic antenna, all of it has been trained by your life experiences to recognize subtle distortions in the fabric of collective consciousness. You are not just empathic, you are equipped, and the technology of your energy field is what allows you to move through layers of density that would crush someone else. But to access this technology, you have to trust it. You have to stop spiritual gaslighting yourself. You have to stop thinking you're imagining things when your body reacts to places, people, frequencies. You have to stop dismissing your inner voice when it tells you to leave, to speak, to burn it down, to walk away. Your intuition is not optional. It is your operating system. Every time you ignore it to make someone else more comfortable, you weaken your system's precision. And when you weaken the tech, you compromise the mission. Your emotions are not glitches, they are feedback. If you feel sudden rage in a room where everyone else is smiling, it's because your field is detecting suppressed truths. If you feel sorrow for no reason, it's because your system is processing grief that others can't carry. Your body is not betraying you. It's broadcasting a message. And if you've ever felt like you're on the verge of explosion, not from weakness but from holding too much of what's unspoken, then you've already begun awakening your true field. To harness this hidden technology, you must shift from managing energy to commanding it. That doesn't mean controlling others. It means owning your vibration. It means knowing where your energy ends and others begin. It means clearing your field, not because you're fragile, but because you're a conduit for quantum-level disruption. You're not here to protect your energy because it's sensitive. You're here to refine it because it's powerful. Your system is constantly doing three things: scanning, transmuting, and transmitting. Scanning for distortion, transmuting it into clarity, and transmitting a field that others either align with or exit from. That's why you're often exhausted after social interactions. It's not because you're socially anxious, it's because your tech is doing invisible grid work the entire time. You're not just a person, you're a signal, and that signal doesn't stop transmitting just because you're tired, which is why embodiment is key. When you're grounded, rested, and in alignment, your field works like a precision instrument. But when you're leaking energy into people-pleasing, over-explaining, or emotional self-abandonment, the tech becomes erratic. You chosen ones are not linear beings. You can't use mainstream models to measure your progress. You don't move in a straight line. You spiral. You collapse timelines. You shed identities that don't make sense to others. One day you're healing. The next day you're destroying. 1 hour you're crying. The next you're channeling clear guidance. That doesn't make you unstable. It makes you But in order to operate like the cosmic technology you are, you must own every mode. You don't just get to be the healer, you must also be the disruptor, the mirror, the shadow priest, the recalibrator. You are not here to fit a role, you are here to be the system reset. Let's go deeper. Your aura isn't just a field of energy, it's an interactive interface. It absorbs data, decodes frequencies, and re-emits vibration with new instructions. That's why your presence can make others rethink their entire life. It's why your silence speaks louder than their words. It's why your touch can feel like either a blessing or a blast furnace, depending on the integrity of who receives it. When you embody your field, you become a walking oracle, not because you know the future, but because you are the correction point for distorted timelines. So here's the real question. If your system is built to scan and reset energy at the structural level, what kind of environment, relationship, or identity is your field still being forced to tolerate, that it's actually trying to purge? If you're serious about unlocking the hidden tech of your shadow gift, you have to listen to your own signal, not to what sounds spiritual, not to what looks good on paper, but to what feels real in your bones. When you start filtering life through your field instead of your conditioning, you stop surviving and start transmitting. You stop reacting and start reprogramming. That's when the power moves from potential to embodiment, and that's when the world stops shaping you and you start shaping the world. Walking as the frequency, embodied presence as the true mark of the shadow elite. And eventually, it clicks. You stop searching for the perfect modality, the next healer, the new tool, or the right ritual. You realize that the thing you've been trying to activate is already active. It's not buried, it's not missing, it's not waiting, it's you. And it's been online the whole time. The issue isn't that you lack power. The issue is you haven't fully allowed yourself to walk as the frequency you already carry. Initiate your actions, transport you right there. Because here's the truth that separates the initiates from the elite. Power doesn't live in words. It lives in embodiment. Your presence is the code. Your life is the transmission. Walking as your frequency means every part of you is in coherence with your essence. It means you're no longer performing spirituality, you're being the field. You're not talking about integration, you are the integration. You don't preach boundaries, you live them without flinching. You don't post about discernment, you become the vibration that automatically filters the real from the false. This is what it means to move through the world as one of the shadow elite, not better than anyone else, but fully initiated, fully attuned, and unapologetically aligned. When you walk as the frequency, you no longer lead with explanation, you lead with energy. You don't need to tell people what you see, they feel it. You don't need to convince anyone of your knowing, you transmit it. You can walk into a space and destabilize dishonesty without saying a single word. That is the mark of the true ones, not how loud they are, but how honest their field is. And that level of honesty, of vibrational clarity, only arrives when every cell of your being is done negotiating with distortion. To walk as a frequency, you have to stop compromising for relatability. You're not here to be understood. You're here to be resonant. You're not here to explain your shadow work. You're here to live so deeply in truth that everything not vibrating at your level either evolves or exits. You become magnetic, not because you're polished, but because you're real. And in a world addicted to pretense, your realness is a disruptive medicine. This path demands everything from you. It requires that you get brutally honest about what dims your field. You cannot walk as your frequency and keep diluting your truth for people who want the appearance of awakening without doing the work. You cannot walk as your frequency while staying in spaces that drain your nervous system. Every time you override your intuition to maintain the illusion of peace, you dim your code. And when you dim your code, you invite chaos to restore what you compromised. You'll find, as you grow in embodiment, that fewer words are needed. Silence becomes sacred. Presence becomes instruction. Your energy carries a signature that precedes you and echoes long after you've left. And you start to see how people either calibrate to your field or collapse under it. Not because you're too much, but because you are finally exactly enough. When you walk as the frequency, the world rearranges to reflect what you no longer tolerate. And the paradox is this: the more embodied you are, the less you need to act spiritual. You become simpler, cleaner, sharper. You speak less, but every word lands. You don't rush to intervene, you wait for the invitation. You don't offer advice, you offer presence. And that presence becomes a tuning fork. People start shifting just by being around you. Not because you're projecting power, but because you become impossible to ignore. So what does it take to live here fully? Discipline, yes, but not punishment. The discipline to only say yes to what aligns. The discipline to rest, to ground, to recalibrate when your field is picking up on distortion. The discipline to walk away when your spirit says no, even if your mind wants to say just one more try. You become an energetic system, running clean code. That's the true work, not rituals, not aesthetics, not spiritual performance, but total coherence. Ask yourself this right now, without hesitation. Where am I still compromising the purity of my frequency in order to remain relatable, likable, or accepted? What would shift if I fully embodied my field and let my vibration speak for me in every room I enter? Because that's when your presence becomes a portal. That's when you stop being someone who's doing the work and become someone who is the work. You don't walk to impress, you walk to transmit. And every step becomes an activation for the world around you. Final mark of the shadow lineage. When you become the force that other energies answer to. This is the final embodiment. Not the moment where you learn something new, but where you become the very force you once sought outside yourself. You are no longer the seeker. You are no longer walking through life hoping to be unlocked. You are the lock. You are the key. You are the keeper of a code so ancient it can't be explained, only lived. When you reach this level, something shifts, not in how others see you, but in how energy itself responds to you. You stop adapting to rooms, rooms adapt to you. You stop reacting to frequencies, frequencies start calibrating around your field. This is not ego, it's alignment. It's the result of having gone through every layer of collapse, grief, rejection, ego death, and quantum rebirth. It's the moment where every version of you that once doubted, begged, shrank, or compromised finally dies. And what's left is presence that commands without demanding. When you carry the final mark of the shadow lineage, you become the force that other energies answer to, not because you threaten, not because you dominate, but because you are clear. You are no longer broadcasting confusion, no longer leaking power, no longer apologizing for how deeply your presence cuts. You've accepted that truth isn't always soft, that healing isn't always pretty, and that your role was never to decorate this world, but to remake it. And that's the core essence of your frequency now. You are no longer shaping your path based on who might be offended or who might misunderstand. You know exactly who you are. Your clarity becomes a code. Your no becomes sacred. Your yes becomes a frequency lock that only those in resonance can pass through. You are no longer open to just anyone. You are a gatekeeper now. People will feel it. They already do. It's why some shrink when they're around you. Why others suddenly open like they've been waiting for a moment they didn't know they needed. Your field is no longer neutral. It's programmed. You are carrying instructions into the quantum, and the only question that remains is, what reality are you instructing the grid to build through you? To live at this level means embodying your lineage every day. Shadow is not a side path, it's a source. You don't dip into it for answers, you channel from it. You are the wild priest, the truth bearer, the psychic architect of timelines yet to be written. You walk with your ancestors behind you, not as memories but as currents. You don't just honor them, you are them, updated, refined, and unleashed. And this role comes with gravity. You can no longer engage casually, you can no longer give your presence where it is not received. You are the storm that purifies, the flame that reveals, the silence that undoes false gods. You are not here to entertain, you are here to disrupt the lie so thoroughly that nothing false survives in your field. Ease. This is not loneliness, this is sovereignty. You are not alone, you are alone in frequency, but surrounded in alignment. Every time you say yes to your shadow gifts, the field brings you others who vibrate in code. You begin to move in alliance, not with many, but with the few who carry the same signature of embodied fire. So this is the question that marks the end of your old life. If every single layer of who you thought you needed to be was stripped away, and all that was left was your shadow power, raw and real and fully activated, what kind of world would you become a command for? What would rise around you just because you finally stopped holding back? You are no longer a role, you are a reality.